What if the reason your desire feels so far away is not because it is difficult to achieve, but because you are thinking about it instead of from it? Most people spend their lives chasing their dreams. They think about success. They think about abundance. They think about love, freedom, and happiness. But no matter how much they think about these things, they continue experiencing the same reality because they remain identified with the person who is still waiting. Today, I want to share a powerful exercise that can change that. An exercise that helps you move from hoping to knowing, from wanting to having, from chasing your future to living from it. Because there is a world of difference between thinking toward a desire and thinking from its fulfillment. When you think toward your desire, you are aware that you don't have it. When you think from your desire, you mentally occupy the state of the person who already does. And that single shift has the power to transform the way you see yourself, the way you feel, and ultimately the experiences you attract into your life. The truth is, your future does not begin the day your desire appears. Your future begins the moment you accept it within yourself. So if you're tired of waiting, tired of doubting, and tired of feeling like your dream is always just out of reach, stay with me. Because by the end of this message, you'll learn a simple but powerful exercise that can help you step into the reality you wish to experience and begin living from the end today. Before you can successfully practice any exercise that helps you think from the end, you must first understand what the phrase actually means. Many people hear the concept and immediately assume it means thinking about their goal all day long. They spend hours imagining what they want, talking about it, and wishing for it to happen. Yet, despite all that effort, they often remain in the same state of wanting. The reason is simple. There is a huge difference between thinking as about a desire and thinking as from its fulfillment. When you think about a desire, you are mentally placing it somewhere outside yourself. You are aware that it is something you want but do not yet have. Your focus remains on the distance between you and the goal. Thoughts such as, I hope this happens, when will it come? Or what do I need to do to get it? All come from a state of separation. Even though these thoughts may seem positive, they often reinforce the feeling that your desire is still in the future. Thinking from the end is completely different. It means mentally occupying the state of the person who already has what they desire. Instead of asking, how can I get this? You begin asking, how would I think if this were already true? You stop focusing on the process of getting and start experiencing the feeling of already having. This shift changes your relationship with the desire. It is no longer something you are chasing. It becomes something you are identifying with internally. Imagine that your goal has already been achieved. How would you feel? How would you speak about yourself? What would you expect from life? The answers to these questions reveal the mindset of the fulfilled version of you. That is the state you want to practice entering, not someday but now. The power of thinking from the end lies in its ability to transform your identity. It moves you from being a person who is waiting for life to change into a person who has already accepted a new reality within. And when that new reality becomes natural in your mind, your thoughts, actions, and expectations begin aligning with it. This is where real transformation begins. Not in the future, but in the present moment. Once you understand what it means to think from the end, the next step is to create a simple mental scene that implies your desire has already been fulfilled. Many people make the mistake of imagining the process of getting what they want. They picture the struggle, the journey, or the moment they finally receive their desire. But the purpose of this exercise is not to focus on how it happens. The purpose is to experience the reality of it already being done. The most effective scene is usually short, simple, and easy to repeat. Instead of creating a complicated story with many details, choose a single moment that would naturally occur after your desire has already become a reality. For example, if your goal is financial freedom, imagine looking at your bank account and feeling complete relief because money is no longer a concern. If your desire is a loving relationship, imagine wearing a wedding ring or hearing someone congratulate you on your happy relationship. If your goal is career success, imagine a friend shaking your hand and saying, "Congratulations on your promotion." The key is to select a scene that clearly implies the wish has already been fulfilled. You are not imagining the event happening. You are imagining life after it has happened. This subtle difference is extremely important because it places your mind in the state of fulfillment rather than anticipation. As you replay this scene, keep it short enough that you can repeat it comfortably. A scene lasting only a few seconds is often more powerful than a long and complicated visualization. Repeat it slowly and naturally, allowing it to become familiar. The goal is not to force anything or create intense emotion. The goal is to make the experience feel real and normal. Over time, this simple scene becomes a bridge between your current identity and the version of yourself who already has what they desire. The more often you return to it, the more natural that fulfilled state begins to feel. Eventually, you stop seeing your desire as something far away and start experiencing it as a reality you have already accepted within yourself. That is when thinking from the end begins to feel effortless and real. Creating a mental scene is an important step, but the true power of this exercise comes from the feeling that accompanies it. A scene without feeling is simply a picture in the mind. What gives it meaning and influence is the emotional experience behind it. This is why learning to feel the reality of the end result is so important. The goal is not merely to see yourself with your desire, the goal is to experience, even for a few moments, what it would feel like if that desire were already a natural part of your life. Most people spend their days feeling the emotions of their current circumstances. If money is tight, they feel worry. If a goal has not yet appeared, they feel frustration. If they are uncertain about the future, they feel anxiety. These emotions continually reinforce the idea that their desire is absent. The exercise of thinking from the end invites you to step beyond those temporary feelings and experience the emotional state of fulfillment instead. As you replay your chosen scene, ask yourself a simple question. How would I feel if this were completely real? Do not force an intense emotional reaction. The feeling of fulfillment is often much quieter than people expect. It may feel like relief, confidence, gratitude, peace, or certainty. Think about something you already possess in your life. You do not feel desperate about it because it is already yours. There is a sense of normalcy and acceptance. That calm certainty is often the feeling you want to cultivate. Allow yourself to linger in that emotional state for a few moments. Feel the relief of no longer worrying. Feel the confidence of knowing everything has worked out. Feel the gratitude that naturally arises when you realize your desire is already fulfilled. Even if the feeling lasts only a short time, it begins training your mind to become familiar with a new reality. The more often you practice feeling the end result, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you stop reacting to life from a place of lack and start responding from a place of fulfillment. Your thoughts become calmer, your expectations become higher, and your confidence grows stronger. This is because you are no longer waiting for your desire to create a feeling. You are creating the feeling first. Remember, the purpose of this exercise is not to convince the world. It is to transform your inner experience. When the feeling of fulfillment becomes familiar, you begin carrying yourself differently. And as your inner state changes, your outer experience often begins to reflect that transformation. The reality of the end result starts within, long before it becomes visible in the world around you. Many people have powerful moments during visualization or meditation, but the real test begins when they return to their daily lives. It is easy to feel confident while imagining a fulfilled desire for a few minutes. The challenge is maintaining that state when faced with everyday circumstances. This is why carrying the end state into your daily life is such an important part of thinking from the end. The goal is not to experience the fulfilled state only during an exercise. The goal is to allow that state to influence the way you think, feel, and respond throughout the day. After completing your visualization, ask yourself a simple question. If my desire were already fulfilled, how would I approach today? Notice how different your answers may be. The version of you who already has the desired outcome would likely think differently, speak differently, and react differently to challenges. They would not constantly worry about whether their desire will happen because, in their mind, it already has. They would carry a sense of confidence, calmness, and certainty that comes from knowing everything has worked out. This does not mean pretending your current circumstances do not exist. It means refusing to let those circumstances determine your identity. If something unexpected happens during the day, instead of immediately reacting with fear or doubt, pause and remember the state you practiced. Ask yourself, how would the fulfilled version of me respond to this situation? That simple question can help you return to the mindset of the end result rather than falling back into old habits of thinking. As you continue practicing this, you may notice subtle changes. You may become less anxious about the future. You may stop overanalyzing every situation. You may find yourself feeling more relaxed and confident without any obvious external reason. These shifts are important because they indicate that the end state is becoming part of your identity rather than just an exercise. The key is consistency. Carry the feeling of fulfillment with you as often as possible. Let it influence your decisions, your conversations, and your expectations. The more frequently you return to that state, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, thinking from the end is no longer something you do for a few minutes each day. It becomes the way you live. And when the end state becomes your normal state, you begin experiencing life from a completely different perspective. The final step in this exercise is also the most important: persistence. Anyone can imagine a fulfilled desire for a few minutes. Anyone can feel inspired after a powerful visualization session. But real transformation happens when you continue returning to the end state until it becomes natural. The difference between a temporary experience and a lasting shift is consistency. Thinking from the end is not something you do once and forget about. It is a state you repeatedly choose until it becomes your new normal. Many people begin practicing this exercise with enthusiasm, but after a few days they start looking for immediate results. They check their circumstances, search for signs, and wonder whether anything is changing. When they do not see instant evidence, doubt begins to appear. They return to old habits of worry and questioning. This is where persistence becomes essential. Your task is not to constantly measure progress. Your task is to remain faithful to the state you have chosen. The outer world often takes time to reflect an inner change, but that does not mean the change is not happening. Think about learning any new skill. At first, it feels unfamiliar and requires effort. But through repetition, it gradually becomes easier and more natural. The same principle applies to thinking from the end. In the beginning, the fulfilled state may feel unnatural because you have spent years identifying with a different version of yourself. But every time you return to the feeling of fulfillment, you strengthen that new identity. What once felt imaginary begins to feel familiar. What once felt distant begins to feel normal. One of the signs that this practice is working is that you stop feeling desperate about your desire. You stop wondering when it will happen because your attention shifts from waiting to being. The end state starts feeling more real than the old state of lack. You no longer need to force yourself to believe because the assumption has become part of your consciousness. There may still be moments when doubt appears. That is completely normal. When it happens, do not become discouraged. Simply return to your chosen state. Revisit your scene. Reconnect with the feeling. Remind yourself of the person you are choosing to be. Every return is an act of persistence, and every act of persistence strengthens the new reality within you. Eventually, a remarkable shift occurs. The end no longer feels like a goal you are trying to reach. It feels like who you are. You think from it naturally. You respond to life from it naturally. You expect good things from it naturally. At that point, the exercise has done its work because the state of fulfillment has become your identity. Remember, persistence is not about forcing results. It is about remaining loyal to a new version of yourself. Continue occupying the end until it feels natural, familiar, and effortless. When you do, you are no longer hoping for a different future. You are living from it. And that is when true transformation begins. As we come to the end of this message, remember this: the purpose of this exercise is not to force reality to change. The purpose is to change the person who is experiencing reality. Because every transformation begins with identity. Every new chapter begins with a new state of consciousness. And every fulfilled desire begins with someone who is willing to think from the end before the evidence appears. Do not underestimate the power of a few moments spent each day occupying the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Do not underestimate the impact of repeatedly seeing yourself as the person you wish to become. These small inner shifts may seem insignificant at first, but over time they change the assumptions you carry, the decisions you make, and the expectations you hold about life. And eventually, the outer world begins reflecting the reality you have already accepted within. So stop asking, when will it happen? Instead ask, who am I when it has already happened? Live from that answer. Think from that answer. Feel from that answer. And return to that answer every day until it becomes your natural state. One day, what once felt like imagination will feel normal. What once felt impossible will feel inevitable. And what once felt distant will simply become your reality. Because the end you repeatedly occupy in consciousness has a way of becoming the life you eventually experience. The future you desire is not waiting somewhere ahead of you. It is waiting for you to become conscious of it now. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message inspired you, don't let it remain just another video you've watched. Put it into practice. Take a few minutes each day to experience the exercise and begin thinking from the end instead of toward it. If you found value in this message, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss future content designed to help you transform your mindset and your life. And if this message resonated with you, share it with someone who may need this reminder today. Until next time, remember, you are not defined by your current circumstances. You are defined by the state of consciousness you consistently occupy. Choose the end, live from the end, and allow life to reflect that choice back to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next